Brought to you by JMR Rentals, jmrny.com. Now you can support No Rest for the Weekend by clicking the link in the description. Your donation will help us create more great content each week. Please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for your support. Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and joining me today via Zoom, he is an actor and creator who you'll know from his many film and television appearances. He currently stars on the new Netflix series FUBAR, Mr. Simon Phillips. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
So thanks for doing this. I know you're doing a bunch of these today, and I'm always happy to climb on the junket reel, and I'm glad I got you earlier in the day. I'm glad I got you earlier in the day instead of the end of the day when you were exhausted.
It's all right. I've only 19 more of these to go, and then it's all good.
My God. So I want to get into it. I want to talk about the series, obviously, because you're promoting the series. But first, I'd like to talk to you about you. So how did you get your start into the old show business? What's your origin story?
Well, my mother was an actress, a sort of theatre actress in London. And my stepfather was in a band and stuff like that. So I had a sort of creative, I guess, background, if you like. So yeah, I've honestly, Jason, I've never thought of doing anything else because so it's one of those. It's like I kind of just did it because I had to. Otherwise, otherwise I would have been a criminal or something. I don't know what else I would have done. I wouldn't have been able to do a 9 to 5. God knows I tried, but they hated me doing that because I talked too much.
I mean, there's a lot of moments where people say, "Oh, I want to be an actor," like you. They grow up in the business or whatever. But when did you know that you could actually make a living doing it?
Well, that's a very good question. Because my mother was, I don't think she would mind me saying, was sort of a failed actress. She never really got her shot at it. She worked in theatre and stuff like that, but never consistently enough to make it a career or anything like that. So she was, I guess, a frustrated actress. So my stepdad, when I went to drama school, obviously, they were like, well, you have to go in England. You have to do it. You have to go to the theatre and drama school. That's kind of a process a little bit more than maybe there is stateside. So I had to go to school for it. And they're like, well, going to school is one thing. And as my stepfather would say, your mother was always a very talented actress, but she never got a shot. So it's not sometimes it's not a very fair game. Sort of the efforts that someone puts in isn't necessarily rewarded. There are obviously a lot of good actors out there. They just don't get their break, get their shot. So I've been an actor now for 20 years. And I haven't, for the first 10 years, you got to work in bars and, temp office jobs and call centers and McDonald's and all those wonderful places because they give you a bit of life. And when, and if you're still there at the end of it, it's one of those great businesses where certainly for a man, as you get older, the competition thins out, actually that's men and women. But you get more experience at the same time. Obviously you have to work at some points, but you get more experience. So I've been very lucky for the last 5 years, certainly, but maybe 10 years it's been my only job. I don't do another job. So I've been very lucky just to be a working actor. And to me, and to my family, that's actually success. They go not necessarily being famous, not winning a BAFTA, not winning an Oscar or anything like that, just working. It's like, because you go, are you paying the rent, your bills, with acting? And you're like, and if the answer is yes, then that's a success enough for anybody that's in the arts. And I think any musician, any actor, they would tell you the same thing.
I know that there's also quite a bit of luck involved. An opportunity and things like that. But, it is, people don't want to say this, but it's a war of attrition. It's last man standing kind of thing.
People are always like, oh, we got to be in the right place, right time. And I'm like, well, let me tell you, actually, what's important there is being in the right place. I was like, the time will come if you're in the right place for long enough, so, and what I mean by that is that you're working, you're auditioning, your agents are seeing you, casting directors are seeing you, producers are seeing you, because eventually they go, yeah, we've seen that guy a ton of times. Somebody just dropped out. Ring that guy and ask him if he can be here tomorrow. And that's that's how you get a break with something, because you'll be like, yeah, we've seen him, he's worked before, we've not done anything for us, but run his, sort of see if Netflix will approve him and sort of something like, and that's the because you've been in the right place for a long time. So it's like persistency, right? Like keep going, sort of last man standing, as you say, because eventually eventually you'll get your shot a little bit. So
Now you're in this new series called FUBAR with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is really interesting to me because I don't think he's ever done a series before. I think it's his first time in any sort of
yeah,
series.
so do I. I think that is true, that it's his first ever.
What can you tell us about the show without giving away spoilers? Because there's a Netflix person right outside camera who will shoot you with a stun dart or something, knock you out.
You're joking, and yet I'm looking here. I've got a 5-page document about things I can say and things I can't say. Like I was like, oh, I didn't realize there was going to be homework on this.
What can you say about it? What can you
What
say
can
about
I
your
say
part?
is that it's a great show. It's Nick Santora, Dana Goldberg. Like, don't know who these people are. You should go and look them up. They're amazing people, amazing creatives, and they brought this whole big show to life. It's Schwarzenegger is a sort of CIA operative, and he's about to retire, but he's been hiding it from his family. But his daughter's also a CIA operative, and she's been hiding it. And mayhem ensues. Literally don't think I'm allowed to say anything else apart from that. But it is a great show in terms of it being it's action, but it's also comedy. Now, I love that. Me, it's the comedy bit of it is actually super important. I used to love all the old 80s, 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of action movies, but I would live for the one-liners. The sort of after he dispatched someone, he'd have some quip that he would give away, sort of James Bond style. And I always really like that. So I like it when the shows have sailed into that a bit more, sort of. So and Nick Santora has done a great job on this. So it's because it's how it feels, and it reminds me of all those things. So I love that. And yeah, it's good fun. I mean, it's exactly what I think you want it to be. So for Schwarzenegger's first TV show, I think they got that just right.
And tell us a bit about your part.
As much as I'm allowed to say, I think is I'm a bad guy. I'm certainly probably allowed to say that. And that's in the trailer. I think it's evident. I mean, I was lucky enough to make it into the trailer there. So I'm the first person Schwarzenegger faces off against in the show, I believe. So it's my one is a bit of setting the tone, and I'm the last job he does apparently before retirement. But of course, it doesn't end up being his last job.
Now we haven't rehearsed any of this or anything, so I'm hoping you have a good story for this. What was you're working? You have this confrontational scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger, legend action star. Tell me the story. Tell me the day or the couple of days that you work with him. Tell me what happened, and please feel free to make it as interesting and entertaining as you possibly can.
I'll do my best, Jason, but I can't promise it'll be interesting, okay, or entertaining. No, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It entertains you itself. Honestly, he's a great guy. He's got time for everybody. But before the show, before you get filming, there's a whole lot of like I auditioned. I'm an actor, so I just auditioned in my British accent, and then they were like, "Oh, we like that. We're gonna see if Netflix would approve you, but we're gonna have you do it in a Flemish accent." And I was like, "Oh," and I was like, I'm not even confident I know what that is. If you were speaking to me right now in a Flemish accent, I don't know if I'd be able to place where you're from. And they were like, "Don't worry, we're going to get you a voice coach, like a dialect coach. It's still in English, and then we're going to add a couple of German lines in it, and it is like in German." I was like, "Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that sounds fun." And then they do stuff like that. So, and then I do this voice dialect coach, and we do all this business beforehand. And I'm super nervous going into the day, right? Because I end up doing these sessions, and then the voice guy tells the producers he wants extra sessions with me, which means he's not happy. He wants me to keep doing it because I keep sort of fighting it a little bit. They want the accent to be to business, so which has this sort of, and I was like, it kind of sounds, yeah, I don't know, sort of, it sounds a bit comical to me, so I know there's a bit of comedy, but I think they want this tone a little serious, sort of. Anyway, we get to the day. I get through this. I do a screen test, costume test. I have a Zoom. We have the rehearsals are on Zoom because Arnold is in California still. And so all the rehearsals happen on Zoom, just like we're doing right now. And I get to the day, and we just do the they just want to do a master wide first, and then we come in to do the real scene. But they're just like getting us in position. They're kind of saying, "Don't worry about the scene, really. We're going to come in and get all the close-ups and the mid shots and everything else." So this is really just because we're in a big location in Toronto. So we come and sit and we do the scene, and I start doing my German, and then he starts speaking to me. Arnold starts speaking to me in German. And I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, that's it." And he goes, "Oh, you don't speak German?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, I thought you did." And I was like, because of the German I was speaking to, I was like, what a great compliment. So I was like, my German is all right. And I literally don't speak any German, but he thought I did. And then after we do the scene a couple of times, I confide in Arnold that I think there's a lot of people on set that they're worried about my accent, about the accent they asked me to do in the thing. And he's like, oh, no, no. He's like, no, you're terrific. Don't worry about it. And he was like, and he reminds me that he's been playing an American for 40 years. I was like, oh yeah. And he's like in this show, he's CIA. He's American, but obviously he has the Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. He's Austrian still, obviously sounding, but nobody ever questions it because he's doing such a great job. Because you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everyone and he goes, yeah, because you're doing such a great thing. Don't worry about how you sound, sort of, because how he sounded obviously was on his mind at some point when he was a younger man, and actually he just never let it affect him, sort of, and it didn't. Obviously, he became one of the biggest stars in the world, and he's managed to kind of consistently maintain that. He's never really dropped from the limelight, sort of. So it was just such a nice day because he's sort of reaffirmed something. He was like, no, you're doing a great job, so just keep doing what you're doing. And he's real sort of. If he wasn't the person he was, he would be a great motivational speaker. Because you're like, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger said I was doing a great job. I was like, yes. That's the only pat on the back I think I might ever need.
You seem to draw the villain card.
Yeah. Which is really a shame, Jason, because I'm a nice guy in general, but they do. If they need some asshole, believe me, that's like they go, yeah, we need some guy. He might, maybe he killed someone, maybe he raped somebody. Like, my phone rings. What I mean, sort of. And I'm like, I'm such. And if people meet me afterwards, they're like, you're a nice guy. And I know that the reason that they've said that is because they've seen something beforehand. They go, I was not expecting you to be, nice. I was like, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't really go around raping and killing women. So, it's all make believe, that stuff.
Do you think it's a look, or do you think it's a facility that you have to play villains?
I think, you know what it is? I will be totally honest about what this is. It isn't just a look. It's anyone that's funny is able to be very dark. And the person I reference on this is I don't know if you've ever seen a movie with Robin Williams called Snapshot, or 1 Hour Photo, as I think it might go called elsewhere. But whatever it was called, Robin Williams played an amazing serial killer, and we obviously all know Robin Williams as the comedic genius that he was. But he was able to be something really dark if he needed to be. And all funny people I've found, like comedians, if they're playing a funny person in a film, I almost find it less amusing, a comedian, sort of, except with the exception of Robin Williams. But if they play somebody like a serial killer or dark, I don't know what it's about, but funny people are able to tune into your brain in a way, I don't know, straight people can't. I don't know how else to say it apart from that.
I did want to ask you a little bit about, your career and the Bruce Willis experience, because toward the end of his career, Bruce Willis was cranking out like 5 movies a year, 10 movies a year, and they got sort of a bad rap. They were called like geezer teasers, and he was doing these films, and I don't know where he was in his decline at that point. Did he know he was sick? And do you have like working? I don't know how much you worked with him, but do you have any sort of insight in that? What that experience was like?
I mean, for me, the experience was great because I got to. They were like, so this is what happened. I'm like an improviser. I like to improvise in the script. So they give you the script, and you're allowed to. I like to add little flourishes of color and things like that, and keep people on their toes. But when they were doing this movie with Bruce Willis, they were like, you can't change the script, Simon. You have to be on the. It's contractual. Like you have to, say. And then when Bruce Willis turned up, he wanted to improvise. And I was like, great, I love that because that works super well for me, and you're going to get way more out of this now with us doing it like this. And because Bruce Willis said it, obviously everyone was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then they were like, Simon, we'd like you to improvise, whereas before they told me not to. So the thing with him is that he wanted to improvise. Now, where he was in his decline, I don't know. He seemed pretty okay to me, but maybe he was having, I guess, what would be like termed good days or bad days, sort of, and that's fine. He's allowed to have all that. But because I got to improvise a scene with him, he was very much there and in the room. He wasn't struggling to remember lines because he was just able to do the scene with me. And I was able to do the scene with him, and we were able to keep it all there, right there in front of him. We didn't have to worry about anything outside the room or remembering dialogue. So for me, it made it a great thing, and he had great energy to do that. So, and I liked that. But I mean, he was probably struggling silently with all those issues, but that's how he handled it, and he handled it the best way he could. And what people were like saying, oh, he was kind of cranking those movies out towards the before he sort of announced his retirement, and you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm sure he was, sort of cranking them out. But when after he retired, they were like, oh, well, any working actor can be in a Bruce Willis movie now, Simon. And you're like, but after he retired, you had something money then couldn't buy. I had a movie with Bruce Willis, and I was forever richer for that experience. I have a little slice of Die Hard history. I'm an '80s baby, so I grew up with all that. So for me, it was a bit of a dream.
You're also a creator. You created your own series for Amazon. I wanted to talk to you a bit about writing and the current writer's strike. And I don't know if you're a WGA member, but can you talk about that? How you sort of feel about that, or if you've been affected by it so far?
I've not been affected by it so far, but obviously I'm probably about to be affected by it because I'm still working. I'm not a member of the WGA. However, that's only because of I wouldn't count myself as a writer. I have helped. I've never, I don't think, written something from start to finish, but I've certainly helped write stuff. WGA is incredibly important. Supporting the writers is incredibly important. They should get a fair deal, and I hope that they can kind of work it out between them. It's always a compromise. People need to move in both directions. Sort of. It's look. This is a collaborative process. It's like you need all people of the team. So all people of the team should be getting their sort of input reflected in their paychecks or their conditions and stuff like that, and they should be recognized for what they do. Writers are an incredibly important part of the process, like more than people probably think. They think the script is something else, but if you don't have a good script, you are never going to have a good film. You have to start with something good, and hopefully it grows and it gets better, or obviously it changes along the way as it evolves. But you have to start this. So yeah, I mean, I support this, but I hope that I hope that they all both come to some sort of mutually, agreeable deal, and I hope soon, because it doesn't help the industry at all if we have no good writers.
I mean, a lot of it is about the way they've kind of changed writing into a gig job instead of a full-time job, but there's also the encroaching threat of AI, and the possibility of being able to feed a bunch of Woody Allen scripts into a machine, and then they spit out the next Woody Allen movie. Do you feel like? I mean, do you feel like that is a legit threat, like in terms of AI becoming because the studios haven't said they wouldn't use it yet. They haven't promised that they won't use it.
Well, I don't think that they don't need to promise that they won't use it. I'm not sure that's the thing. That with AI, look, so this thing about people being afraid. I mean, everybody's afraid of AI. Actors are afraid that I'm going to be replaced by some digital thing. You know what it is? This is acting, as writing, directing. This is everything. It's choices, right? So when an actor reads a script, he can read it 1,000 different ways, and how you read the same script. I could give you an Oscar-winning script, and if I give it to one actor, it will have no impact. Another actor, he'll win Best Actor from it, and the words on the page are the same. Sort of. So it's how they interpret it and how they choose to do their performance, and so on and so forth. With the writers, they're saying, well, we won't need writers. We'll use AI to write the scripts. You actually still need to control that, because when you put your data into the AI thing or whatever it is, or sort of thing, somebody at the other end has to make sure that the pages coming out are good. Now that person has effectively become the showrunner, the creator, but they're an artistic person. They have to be. So you're not removing that element, because somebody has to judge at the other side, and it can't be committee. It can't be like studio execs and stuff like that. Somebody would have to be the creative lead on a show. So you're effectively just shifting around the responsibilities there, sort of. But it would probably involve a writer again. A writer would say, this is good, this is bad. Now, and they would amend the it's a sort of, it's still, you have to feed the AI something, sort of, you're still, and what you feed it is sort of what it affects, what it spits out the other end, sort of. So still a massively collaborative process, probably. It's just doing the legwork a little bit. Maybe it gives the writer something to think about. Sort of. I'm convinced that we should not be afraid of using these tools, but I don't think we're going to be run by them because it still needs that human eye a little bit. Like maybe it can write you a song, but I don't know. I don't believe it wouldn't need a person writing the right prompts, writing the right things to make it actually successful, actually artistically robust. Sort of this sort of idea that we can do it by paint by numbers. Just I'm not really afraid of it. So that's my take on it.
I got to wrap up, but before I go, tell us about. I know you got like a bunch of projects on the in the hopper, ready to come out. What can you tell us about?
Well, I'm very excited, obviously, about FUBAR dropping on Netflix on May 25th. And up and coming beyond that, I think I'm okay to say this, yeah, is that I'm going to be in The Witcher for Netflix as well in season 3, which is dropping sometime in June. I don't know if we have an exact date for that one bit, but that's coming up. So those are my next 2 big things. So I'm eagerly awaiting those.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. I know you got a bunch of these to do today, so hope you can take a deep breath in between interviews. But thanks, Simon. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Cheers, Jason.
And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my guest, Simon Phillips, and our sponsor, JMR Rentals, for Behind the Rabbit Productions. I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.